Budenholzer is a free agent right now. The New York Knicks could part ways with Tom Thibodeau at the end of the season, no matter what happens. And I think the Knicks have gone as far as Tom Thibodeau could take him. I predicted that Tom Thibodeau was going to be the coach a couple of years ago. I wrote a story about it a year before it even happened. I love Tom Thibodeau. But for some reason with this team, and this is a young team, he doesn't work very good with youngsters. He's never worked good with youngsters. And everybody says, well, what did he do with the Bulls? The Bulls had one of the best young, talented teams in the NBA. And he ran Derrick Rose to the floor. He ran Jimmy Butler to the floor. Remember, he's the one that helped develop Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose. All the injuries that we saw with the Bulls all those years, and the furthest they ever went was the Eastern Conference Finals 1 year when they played the Miami Heat. And Derrick Rose completely got shut down. And that was the year Derrick Rose won the MVP. I don't know if Tom Thibodeau is going to take this team to the promised land. I think the Knicks are a player away. If Giannis does become available this offseason, the Knicks have the money, they have the draft stock, they have the youth, the young players, and even players that you can trade away, like Randall, who's going to give you 25 and 10. He's a player that you could definitely move from the Knicks. And maybe an R.J. Barrett and a couple of, first-round draft picks. The Knicks have 7 in the next 4 years. Maybe that's the route the Knicks go. You bring in a superstar to play with Jalen Brunson. You build around that. You keep one of these youngsters quickly, Obi Toppin or even Grimes. You build around that, the youth of this team. That's the way the Knicks need to go. And how do you draw Giannis to want to come here? You bring in Budenholzer. He respects Budenholzer. Budenholzer comes from the San Antonio Spurs. This guy's a winning coach. He's won a championship. He is one of the best defensive minds in all of the NBA. Something that the Knicks have had problems in this series on the perimeter against a team that has a bunch of G League players on it.
Yeah, Budenholzer getting fired was surprising in itself, but now Giannis obviously coming out and saying some of the things he said, the tweets, all the other stuff, the post-media press conferences, definitely something that's unlike him because he's always been one of the more humble superstar players in the league, obviously with his background coming from Greece as well, too. And maybe this is his first, maybe real force of power of this. I mean, some of it right now, most of it right now seems to be internal with the Bucks, but the Bucks are in a tricky spot because of the way they are financially, giving a lot of big contracts to some veteran guys. Drew Holiday, who's an older point guard, I think 33 years old. Brook Lopez, who's an older big man. They're both good players, but they're both kind of traditional type for their position, which is not the way the NBA is going right now. Traditional centers and traditional point guards are not really an art that's as prominent anymore, and they're giving a lot of money, so their depth it didn't drop off badly, but it still dropped off a little from their championship team. And now if they're going to be able to keep Giannis, they're going to have to figure out how they're going to be able to maneuver that money to make it work, because obviously you want to keep your superstar player happy. Maybe this is a way of doing it, but if he liked Budenholzer there and he could get rid of him, there's definitely possibly tension involved.
There's always tension when you have your superstar player complaining or even posting up Twitter, feeds stating that, and he has a picture of him sitting alone. Now, this doesn't mean that Giannis wants out of Milwaukee. If there's any player that has any kind of respect for their team, it would be Giannis with Milwaukee. What Milwaukee did for Giannis, drafting him in the top 15. If Giannis didn't get drafted in the top 15, if you know the story, Giannis probably doesn't ever play in the NBA. He probably goes and plays pro in Brazil or wherever he goes. In Spain, he probably never steps foot on an NBA floor. The fact that Milwaukee took a chance with him and then developed him the way they did, and they brought his family here, and then help his family find a home, and made sure that he was taken care of. It's really an amazing story. If you haven't checked it out, go on Disney Channel or the Disney app and go check out the story. It is an amazing story. It really is. And I don't see Giannis walking away like this unless the organization thinks that they can move on from him and build from trading him. That's the only way I think this happened. The player that I think could be very much available and in play is Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I did so.
Because Jalen Brunson is first of all, he's a big fan of. He played with Jalen Brunson. He thought that Mark Cuban made a big mistake letting him go and not extending him at the time that they could have extended him. And he even said he was the life. He was the heart and soul of that Mavericks team when they went all the way to the Western Conference last year, finals, and made a run for a championship.